Joining us now is OjyOkpe, which story is trending around the world. Hello, Jinx.
Dr. Bati, really?
What have I done?
Now we're campaigning for that show. It's going to be called
Absolutely.
Dr. Bati's intro. How are you?
It's as if you'll be living here so that Oji will come and sit close.
Right, so that they'll cut away, then they'll move to a wider shot.
Maybe
Production design already happening.
We'll just come. Oji, you'll be sitting down here close.
Good morning, Oji. Good to see you.
You look lovely.
And you too.
Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, Oji.
Very interesting morning so far. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. The People's Democratic Party on Tuesday raised concern over the endorsement of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party Peter Obi by an elder statesman and leader of the Pan Niger Delta Forum, Chief Edwin Clark. Clark announced the endorsement at a press conference in Abuja barely 48 hours after a similar endorsement by Nigeria's former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, stating that it was only fair and just that the South produced the next president after 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. On Tuesday, PDP's Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Ibrahim Abdullahi, stated that Edwin Clark's endorsement confirms that the party must reconcile with the G5 governors. In the meantime, the Governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, has backed Obasanjo's endorsement of Peter Obi. In a statement, Ortom noted that the former president was right in his choice of Peter Obi as the right candidate to win the election and provide the leadership that Nigeria desires. Let's take some reactions. Well, this is from Freedom, who wrote, "Wonderful, very much expected. Mr. Clark couldn't have done otherwise because he has been known to stand for equity, justice, and fairness." Waiting to read more endorsement from Ibrahim Babangida, General T.Y. Danjuma, JEJ, celebrities, and other revered Nigerians. Nigerians can't afford to miss this chance. Well, Mavis wrote, "Sir Edwin Clark is an Ijaw man from Delta State. He left their son, Okowa, to endorse Peter Obi. Obasanjo endorsed Peter Obi instead of Tinubu. Ladies and gentlemen, 2023 is beyond tribe. It's solely about credible leadership." In the meantime, the campaign office of the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, described the recent outbursts by the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, as a man dancing like a village masquerade. The Rivers State governor, in reacting to Nigeria's former president Olusegun Obasanjo's endorsement of Peter Obi, said that there is something fundamentally wrong if Atiku Abubakar cannot get the support of Obasanjo, who was his former boss. In a statement tagged Wike's nonsensical gaffe, the PDP, in an apparent reference to a quote in the Bible, labeled Wike as a governor who was once a shining light in his party that has now thrown caution to the wind to become a laughingstock. But Frank Shaibu, the special assistant, public communication to Atiku Abubakar, said, "Every day, Wike dances like a village masquerade on live television, entertaining Nigerians with the same boring moves. He acts like a failed TikTok comedian, desperately trying to amuse Nigerians with the same platitudes just because he lost the primary and also failed to emerge as vice presidential candidate of the PDP."
As I watching me on television now, it is painted. That is all. And it is sweet. When they see me appear like this, it is painted. And I promise them, I'm here to bury them. As he depend them, he dey sweet us. As he dey rent us, he dey pay. Oh yeah, say as he depend them, he dey sweet us. As he dey sweet us, he go dey pay. Hey yeah yeah, as he depend them, he dey sweet us. As we get there here, he go bury them.
Lord, we lift your name higher.
Lord, we lift your name higher.
Lord, we lift your name higher.
Lord, we lift your name higher. Lord, we lift your name higher. Above every other name.
Above every other name.
Lord, we lift your name higher.
Lord, we lift your name.
Lord, we lift your name.
So we clip pepper them. I say pepper them. Which are designers to pepper them. I say pepper them. We get rich, make pepper them. Oh, I say pepper them. Your designers to pepper them. Oh, I say pepper them. We get you are better than the rest.
Just a little entertainment. I'm still waiting for Nyesom Wike to dance Buga. Dr. Bati, over to you.
The way we are carrying on in this country, I think one of these days we should organize a dance contest between Senator Adeleke, the governor of Osun, and Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. But in any case, I mean, it was Dino Melaye calling him a village masquerade, right? What do masquerades do? They entertain. And the entertain is good for Nigerians. We get entertained. But to talk to the serious issue here, I mean, the matter in the PDP has not been resolved. There are other spokespersons in the PDP who are saying the party has moved on and that Wike has just been insolent, and they've called him all kinds of names. But he says it's not about abuse. Address the fundamental issues that he and the integrity group have raised, which is about equity, about justice, about fairness. To wit, they do not think that the chairman of the party and the presidential candidate should come from the same area. And we've been on this for months. The concern is, at what point, would this argument stop? Because in any case, the elections will soon be here. The elections will be won and lost. And whatever happens, would that argument still continue even after the election? So it's a matter of internal crisis within the People's Democratic Party. And there are other voices within the party who have been saying that the party could pay a heavy price for that internal dissension. Now, Wike addressed the point about him, mocking the presidential candidate Atiku, and he said no. He was just expressing worry as a member of the party that if President Olusegun Obasanjo worked with the candidate of the PDP for 8 years, did not consider him fit enough for him to endorse him publicly, then he thinks that something is fundamentally wrong within the party, and that's why he's got this barrage of attacks from Frank Shaibu and also from Dino Melaye. But at the end of the day, political parties are organized to win elections. They are not charity units. So how you organize your affairs internally, which was the point that Professor Yakubu Mahmoud made when there was this review, this post-election review in 2019-2020, when he said, look, political parties have to learn lessons about the value of internal democracy, because if you get it wrong internally, then of course it could have consequences for you in the general election. So that's that about that. As for Mr. Peter Obi, yes, he continues to be endorsed. And you can understand where Chief Edwin Clark and President Obasanjo and
Samuel Ortom,
Chief Ayo Adebanjo and Governor Samuel Ortom, where they're coming from. These are persons from the south up to the middle belt who are arguing for equity, fairness, and justice. Absolutely. And Chief Edwin Clark put his fingers on it to say that, look, his endorsement of Peter Obi is an indication that no group in Nigeria is superior to the other. Whatever your religion, whatever your extraction, ethnically, you are also entitled to the highest office in the land. And that, principled position, you may argue here and there, well, they have made their choice, and they have only one vote. And Chief Edwin Clark says on February 25, he will vote Peter Obi. How that, generates momentum for the Peter Obi ticket, well, remains to be seen. But what we know is that these endorsements, speak to, the value, the impact that he has been able to make with his bid and campaign.
Absolutely. Ayo, what do you make of Chief Edwin Clark's endorsement of Peter Obi? Like one of my Twitter user wrote, he said that, he left his own Okowa for Peter Obi.
That's why I like what he said, that it's getting more interesting, and we expected that. They'd promised us a January to remember, particularly coming from Governor Nyesom Wike and the G5 governors who said they were going to tell us who they'd be speaking to, and we'd expected a number of that. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo opened up the month with his letter endorsing Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party. It is important that we are where we are as a nation is critical, and we can no longer vote on sentiments or along religious, ethnic lines. It must be about credibility. It must be fair, but very importantly, a credible candidate. Now, a credible candidate to many people might differ. However, let it be that the reason why you're going out on the 25th of February 2023 this year is because the person you're casting your vote for is someone that you believe can take the nation to the next level. Not because we are brothers from the same local government area, without understanding what the person stands for or if the person is able to deliver on what they said they're going to. We need to move away from politics, played in that way. And then just finally to say, as I was just smiling, that I believe that the PDP, one of the things that they consider if you want to participate is your dancing skills. Senator Dino Melaye, Senator Jackson, Ademola Adeleke, Governor Nyesom Wike, all belong to the PDP. So on a lighter note, very interesting that they have great dancers.
That was so intelligent. I love that. Rufai.
So why are they complaining about Wike's dance? Atiku Abubakar dances. All politicians dance. It's an appellation of their crowd. But let's not throw the baby with the bathwater. In the conversation with Wike, he's disgruntled. Yes, people have said, is this the best way he can go about it? Because you see, the argument will also be made that what will even end the fight? At least every fight must have a termination date, except you want to fight till death. Even nations that fight till death, they still have to have a termination date. And in the midst of every fight, there must be a ceasefire at some point. The Wike camp now has hit a cul-de-sac because all their forays, anyway, they denied it, but all their forays into London, meeting both camps, they saw they couldn't do any deal. So they're at a cul-de-sac now. That's why they're not saying anything. You can see what Ortom was saying the other day. Yeah, expressing, I like the Peter Obi and all of that. But you can see what is also happening for Seyi Makinde is in a big dilemma now as we speak, and other governors. In fact, there are indications that some of them might be pivoting to go back to the fold of the PDP and try to make an alternative deal in case this thing doesn't work out for them. Wike too has got candidates in this election. The PDP has threatened that they might take the party away. They might expel him for the party. In case they do that, his candidate like Fubara will be affected. So he's a cul-de-sac. So the question is, where will this fight be resolved? Some people have said maybe he has lost the luster. Maybe he should have ended this fight long ago, negotiated the deal and move on. But like I always say, politicians have something up their sleeve. But whatever it is, as you continue the fight, it's getting harder and harder every day. You remember how we all thought that Russia was going to crush Ukraine. But as the day went by, we started saying Putin is not so great. So let's be careful, and it's instructive for us politically. Moving on to the endorsement, Peter Obi is the rave of the movement. Let's not deceive ourselves. That's why he's getting all the endorsement. And people are arguing it speaks of fairness because they're saying, after 8 years of somebody from the north, the south should have it. And that was what even caused the fight in the PDP in the first place. The zeitgeist is about rotational president. If it goes to a region, it should go to the other region. But people in the PDP they've argued otherwise, saying that, we've not completed our term, that Jonathan disrupted things. Some people are saying, no, that's not a good argument. Whatever it is, I think the most important thing on ground are the problems we face. Whoever will become president in May 29, 2023 will inherit a lot of problems. The country is not making revenue as we speak. Our debt to revenue service ratio is at all-time high. We are spending all our revenue to service debts. We are securitizing ways and means for the generation yet unborn. It's even a junk securitization because nobody will buy it. Our 30-day tenure is going over 14%. You want to securitize for 9%. Who's going to get it? So there's going to be a loss-making. So there's so much problem. Vis-a-vis, we are wasting money on subsidies. The economy is at an all-time low. Nigerian young people are jackpotting and leaving the country. The health situation is worse. Manufacturers are now being overtaxed. Nigeria's corporate taxation, one of the highest in the world. Now, with this new finance bill, 36%. That you are scaring away investors. That they can see other countries that can give them 12, 15% or thereabout with all the infrastructures in place. So there's so much problems. Crude oil theft is at an all-time high. The country as we speak today is on its knees. But in all of this, Oji, I see hope, I see prosperity for Nigeria if we get leadership right. This country is the best kept secret in the world, and God bless this country.
Yeah, getting leadership right is paramount. Well, in another development, Masquerade Obi, wife of Labour Party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has urged Nigerians from all walks of life, irrespective of their ethnicity or religious affinity, to vote for a new Nigeria where every citizen will enjoy a pride of place. Masquerade made the call during a town hall meeting with the theme Women for a New Nigeria in Abuja, where she also called on women to take an active part in the 2023 election. Let's take a look.
The Obi-Dati government is committed to ensuring that women and youth will be represented in government by law, not a token of sprinkle of women. The time for complaining is over. God has presented us with a unique opportunity, and we must do our part as women and as mothers of the nation to truly bet the Nigeria we want to see. What Nigeria needs now, it's a young, hardworking, dynamic, intelligent man. And we in the Labour Party, we have it.
Well, I mean, I think that she made a lot of points. I thought that was a really nice endorsement for her husband as well. As we were saying, this is one of her first public engagement. As you know, she was Anambra First Lady when Peter Obi was the governor at the time. But I mean, she talked a lot about women's inclusion in the space. I mean, we were saying 49% of women make up the population now, and only 75% of women are registered voters. I mean, she made a lot of points, and I think that it should be encouraged. Dr. Abati.
Okay, well, very good point. See, it's not only in sports, in football, that you have the wives angle to the matter. In politics, too, you have the wives angle to it. And it's good to see the wives supporting their husbands. We've seen Senator Oluremi Tinubu campaigning for her husband. We've seen Mrs. Titi Abubakar campaigning for her husband. Now it's Mrs. Margaret Obi, former First Lady of Anambra State. She not only campaigned in Uyo, this was a women event in Abuja yesterday, and she was there to address the women on behalf of her husband. And what were the points she made? The viability, in her view, of the Peter Obi Dati Ahmed proposition to build a new Nigeria.
Yes.
That was a major theme. And that in this new Nigeria, women will have a place at the table.
Yeah.
Okay, which is a very brilliant point. She's not the first to make it. This is the same point that was made earlier this year by a group led by Dr. Afolabi Akiyode that presented what they call Womanifesto. And the whole purpose of that Womanifesto was to get the political parties a buy-in into the idea of inclusiveness, into the idea of women's participation in the political decision-making process. And the statistics tell us that in terms of women representation in politics, Nigeria has one of the lowest percentages in the whole of Africa, far behind Rwanda, far behind Zambia, far behind, even Senegal, where women representation is close to 60%. So the vision she's articulating is a vision that many can buy into. Now, of course, she's saying they should vote for her husband and Dati Ahmed. I mean, we don't expect her to say anything different from that. But she made a point about women constituting 49% of the population, women constituting 75% of the registered voters. So she urged the women to come out and act and not complain. If they want inclusion, if they want a place at the table, she was selling to them her husband, Peter Obi, and his running mate, Dati Ahmed. But beyond political campaign, indeed, one of the issues that we need to address in this environment is the marginalization.
Absolutely.
Not just of women, but all those groups that have been decentered, all those groups that have been pushed to the periphery, all those groups that exist in Nigeria but are invincible and are discriminated against, contrary to Section 42 of the 1999 Constitution. So women should not just be used in the women's wing of political parties. They should not just be people who wear colorful attires and skyscraping headgears. They should also be persons who will be part of the decision making, either within the parties or in society generally. And she was specific about how women are discriminated against in politics, in healthcare, in education, in various aspects of Nigerian life. So thematically, she was on point. Politically, it's good to see her, supporting her husband, So That's just my take on that.
I like your take, Dr. About the skyscraping headgear. So
yes,
that got
you.
me.
Thank you so much. You know, Oji, I wish that women in Nigeria would understand the power that we wield. Not just during elections to put our thumbprint or to vote, but also the power that we have in terms of being very active in politics. Yes. We reeled out the numbers. We actually have the advantage of the numbers. Yesterday we were talking about the advantage of the number of the youth population, but we also have the advantage for women. And guess what? Politicians know this, but oftentimes they come to us when it's time to vote for them. However, when it comes to positions where we can actually negotiate, when they come to us, we don't. So we just vote, but we don't negotiate the number of slots, spots, what you want, the demands we're making. Yes, like Doctor mentioned, some groups have led this and asked some of the politicians to sign onto this. However, for the number and the power that we wield, we don't demand enough. We have organizations like Elect Her who are trying to get more women in the political process. INEC released a figure that only 8.9% of the candidates running at presidential and National Assembly level are women. Despite the fact that we have more registered voters as women than men, even though by a few percentages is quite short. However, we must understand, because women play. Look at Lemagbowe of Liberia and the efforts she made to promoting peace in Liberia. She won a Nobel Prize, a Peace Prize. When are we going to have women like that? We need more women in governance. We need more women in leadership. And when they come to us for our votes, we must go to the negotiation table with our demands. When they do win the election.
Well said, Ayo.
We have women like that in Nigeria, but the system stifles them out. I'm happy you talked about Liberia and Lemagbowe. I'm also happy that in that same Liberia, we had an Ellen Johnson Sirleaf that became president. We also had in Mauritania that a woman became president. When are we going to have a woman president in Nigeria? That's the big proposition I want to make. Yeah, we keep saying it's a men's game, it's a men's game. No. We need to be able to have a country where women too can sit on the table of the highest heights and just not being about, okay, first lady to a runway. We forget a lot that this is the country of Gambo Sawaba. This is the country of other great women that have done great things for the country, like Margaret Ekpo, Fela's mother. Right. So please, a woman president next.
Well said, you
That's
guys.
where we are going.
Thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.